Welcome to episode 2 of Directing a Play for Community Theatre. In this case, we are featuring the play Remember Maggie, written by Carol Murray and her son, Matt Murray. I'm directing the play for Theatre Kent. As I've mentioned before, I'm going to walk you through the process of what I do. As a retired drama teacher and somebody with many plays experience. This week we're going to be talking about the audition process. Auditions are one of the most uncomfortable and challenging times of presenting a play. How you prepare for the auditions as a director is important. You need to have a sense of what you're looking for, but be flexible. You need to have read the play many times. And then you need to know the characters and the stories that you're thinking they're going to tell, knowing that the cast will bring something different to it, and how you cast the show will change the way the story is told. So how do you prepare your actors? You can give them sides, which tells them which scenes you plan on having them read. There are a couple of thoughts, obviously, there always are. Some directors have their cast show up with a memorized monologue, and there are some merits to that. I mean, if you have the time to memorize, it tells you a little bit about whether somebody can memorize, will memorize, does memorize, those kinds of things. And then, you can play around with it. The other option is a cattle call, where the director chooses scenes that they want to do, and they have everybody that wants to audition at the same time, as opposed to monologues where some people do it one at a time. I don't like that myself. Because you don't get a chance to see how people play off of each other as much. I like the cattle call. You have everybody in the same place at the same time, and I know I've heard the criticism before of, it's not fair to the people that go first because everybody else sees what they're doing and can change what they're going to do based on that. But the other side of that is that if they're really good, they set the benchmark, and you see how everybody else does it. And I give people the opportunity to go back up and do something, and I never pick the same people twice. I think you can mitigate that by simply having people, mixing people up. And when you do the scenes, full scenes from the play, you can start to get a sense of whether they are able to take directions, because they can read a line, and of course you could do that with the other two, but give them specific directions and see if they do it. The other thing I always do at the beginning of actually rehearsals as well, and we'll get into that in one of the future episodes, but I always do improv, because while a lot of people are terrified of improv, which I find very bizarre in theater, it's very simple to do. There are lots of resources online that you can use as a director to draw from. I find from my years of teaching and directing plays, I find that improv helps actors to start to come together, to think together, to communicate better, to listen to each other. Too often in amateur shows, actors don't listen, they just wait for their line, their cue line, and then they just blurt out their line without the thought, and that's where mistakes happen. Getting your actors, getting your cast to listen is absolutely essential. I find the cattle call gives me the flexibility to get different people and see how they play off of each other. I like all of that about the cattle call. The monologue I don't love, obviously, just because somebody can come in and they can be memorized, but they may show you that's always actually the risk of an audition. Somebody may be great at auditions, but they're terrible in other ways. They don't learn their lines, for instance, or once they've established who they think they're going to be, they never change. As a director, I want somebody that's going to take feedback, continue to evolve their character. What do? I pick scenes that I think are crucial. I try to find a variety. If it's something like Remember Maggie, where there are dramatic scenes, I will pick some dramatic scenes. I will pick scenes where the different cast members are playing off against each other to see how my potential cast works off of one another. I will pick scenes that are comedic and see if the characters understand the comedy in it and can deliver it. I never expect it to be exceptional at rehearsal or at an audition process, because it's stressful for the actors. Can be very stressful for the director too. So when I did Maggie, I didn't film anything. I am going to be showing you clips from our rehearsals, but I didn't film anything because I don't think it would be fair to show clips of people auditioning. Again, it's a very difficult process, so we'll just talk about that one for now. I had 2 nights scheduled, and most of the people just showed up on the second day, which limited me a bit as far as watching the cast members. Potential cast members, because I didn't have the time to do it. It still worked out. What I did was I used the audition form and I make notes. I won't show you those because, again, that should be kept confidential, but I made notes on my script about people that I thought impressed me immediately. They understood blocking, they understood stage presence, they understood how to deliver lines in various ways, and they listened. Those are the things that I was looking for. And then I would take all those notes. Once the auditions were done, I gave everybody a chance after I went through what I wanted to do. If somebody had thought that they would like to redo a scene, or there was a scene that they hadn't been involved in, they had that opportunity. I want the best cast I can possibly get, so I'm going to give them as many opportunities to succeed as possible. Oh, I was talking about improv. So I just wanted to finish that thought. With improv, you get the cast to start to work together, to listen to one another. It's a really good de-stressor at the beginning of an audition. After the formal part of the auditions is done, then I sit down with my production team. In this case, there were 4 of us, and I put all of the sheets out in front of me. Sometimes there are actors that are obviously not going to fit. They're either too young, too inexperienced. There's just something about them where you're thinking, no, this is not the show for them. In Maggie, there are only 4 people, so you really need people that have enough confidence that they can work together. In a large cast, that's where you can train new cast members. In a large cast piece where you can get more experienced people to start to get that experience working with those that do have the experience and watching. So that's part of my process too. And then I would lay the sheets down, remove the ones that were the easiest to remove. Not to say any of them are particularly easy, but I would, it's like I've got to make a decision. So, okay, based on this and this, I'm going to take these out. So, again, it might be that they fidget all the time. It might be that they don't move at all. It might be that they don't listen when you give them instructions. And, if I really like somebody, I will keep asking to see if I can get something else out of them, which will help me make a decision going down the road. In this case, we got down to, I think, 6 people. And then it was a case of, okay, how do I whittle it down from those 6 to 4? So the first part was a difficult process. The last part was, okay, it could be this person, it could be this person. And then for me, I go with my gut. It's like, okay, so how do I see this person with this? And I take pictures, by the way. I take pictures of all of the cast members and then have their names on my phone so that later I can refer to each person and go, okay, so how do they work with each other? And when I see what they look like, it's like, oh, right, they delivered that part this way, or they did that way, and it helps me. Then I will start to, try and narrow down, make the list of, okay, so I'm going to take this person over that person, I think, but I'm going to leave this one here. You don't want to rush that. I will take my time and talk it through and listen to other people, see if they saw something that I didn't see. In the end, I'm going to make the decision, but I want to listen to the other people that I have asked to be there specifically to watch and give me their feedback. Once I've set the cast, that's what I'm working with. I want to give myself the best opportunity to succeed I can. With this piece, the 4 ladies that I finally decided with the production team that, this is the cast. Before I called anybody, I read through the entire play one more time. Like, is there anything I'm missing here that would make it so that one of those 4 people does not fit for whatever reason? And once I ascertained that the cast was good, then my wife and I set about culling the cast. She's my producer. And we called the successful candidates first. And the reason you want to do that is because if you call somebody who has realized that this is a huge commitment, and we're talking 3 days a week for 12 to 14 weeks, it's a huge commitment. And some people, after they audition, get home, talk to partners, whatever, look at their schedule, and that's when they go, oh yeah, I can't commit to that. And that's fine. You just want to know that first. Because you don't want to call somebody and say, I'm very sorry you didn't get the role, and then call them back a day later and go, so would you like to be in the show? You're my fifth choice. It doesn't feel best to try and get your cast right at the beginning. And then once you've got your cast, then the fun starts to happen. You call all of your successful candidates first, and then you go through and you thank every single person that auditioned for you beyond that. It's a huge risk to go out and audition, so it doesn't matter what their audition was like, whether you liked it or not. They deserve your respect and they deserve to be thanked. I often invite people, in fact, 2 of our members of our production crew are from that audition process, and they're wonderful and they're going to be very involved in the show, and they get to be involved, and they were less experienced. Now they get to be involved in a show from a different perspective, which is a great way to learn. When you're watching people with more experience, you become more experienced by watching them. So it's a vicarious process in a lot of ways. And listening to the notes afterwards gives you a sense of, oh, okay, so that's what you should do. So it really becomes a workshop for developing actors in the community. And the bigger you can get that workshop experience to be, the more people you have that get that base of knowledge and can become an asset to the entire company in the years to come. So that's the basis of my audition process. It's not the only one. I don't have all the answers. It's just the way I do it, and I find it works for me. We're very lucky with the show. I recently actually had a conversation with the playwright, and I'll be sharing that in a future post, as well as filming at rehearsals, and I'll have little snippets of the rehearsal process and how we go about rehearsing what we do. And you'll get to see, by the time we're done in several weeks' time, prior to the show opening in February in Chatham, you'll be able to see the evolution of characters as they go from our first read-through to all the way through to just before the show opens, and that layering of depth in their character as they go, oh wait, if I say this way, it means that. So this will be a fun ride for everybody, I hope. What else do I need to tell you today? I think that might be it. I want to take a minute to thank Glasstown Brewing Company for sponsoring this show. They have generously sponsored this show as our title sponsor, and it's a microbrewery opening here in Wallaceburg, Ontario. It's very exciting for us. And if you live somewhere far away and you're watching this, well, come to Wallaceburg. Have a beer. I'll meet you there. Honestly, I would. Okay, so from the shores of the Sydenham River, this is goodbye for this week. Whoa!